All right, let's jump right in. We're going to be talking about one of Buddhism's most foundational texts, the Brahmajala Sutta. You can translate that as the Supreme Net Sutta, and it's all about this huge, invisible net of ideas, a net that the text says has the power to ensnare every single one of us.
So let me ask you something right off the bat. How much of your reality is just the ideas you hold? I mean, your beliefs about the world, about who you are, what's good, what's bad. Are those ideas things you use, or are they a kind of trap you might be stuck in without even knowing it?
And that's the core idea here. The Brahma net isn't a literal physical net, it's a conceptual one. In this text, the Buddha actually maps out 62 different philosophical views on reality and says that every single speculative idea you could possibly have, it falls into one of these categories. It's like this grand, all-encompassing map of human thought.
But what's so fascinating is how the Buddha gets to this incredibly profound teaching. You see, the path to understanding this cosmic net, it doesn't start with some heavy philosophical lecture. No, it starts on a dusty road with a simple argument about him.
So picture this. The Buddha and his monks are walking, and trailing right behind them are a teacher and his student. The teacher, this guy Suppiya, is just constantly bad-mouthing the Buddha. But his student, Brahmadatta, is doing the complete opposite, singing his praises. They're locked in this total contradiction, walking along right behind him. So later, the Buddha hears his own monks talking about this argument, and he pulls them aside and gives them this amazing piece of advice. He says, look, don't get angry when people criticize me. And don't get all excited when they praise me. Why? Because either one of those emotional reactions just clouds your mind. It becomes an obstruction. You can't see things clearly if you're getting swept away by praise or blame.
And here's the first big twist. The Buddha then says, even when people praise me for being a good moral person, it's really not that big of a deal. He actually calls it minor matters, the kind of obvious surface-level stuff any run-of-the-mill person would notice. This is a total red herring. He's pointing away from what he thinks is truly important.
So what were these so-called minor matters? Well, things like not killing, not lying, not being greedy for money, staying away from stuff like fortune-telling. All great things for sure. But the Buddha is essentially saying, hey, if this is all you see, you are completely missing the main event. So what is the main event? This is where he pivots. He moves away from that shallow stuff, the praise for his good behavior, and zooms in on the deep, hard-to-see teachings. This is the real reason he's worthy of praise, and it has everything to do with that conceptual net we mentioned.
And then he just lays it all out. Every possible viewpoint a person can hold about the universe. Not 5, not 10, 62. He just systematically breaks down and categorizes every major philosophical idea about existence. He's building the net right in front of them.
And all 62 of these views, they're all just trying to answer the biggest questions we have, right? Questions about the past, like, are we eternal? Did the universe just pop up by chance? And questions about the future. What happens when we die? Can we find some kind of total freedom right here, right now? Every speculation you can imagine falls into one of these buckets.
Now, here's why this is so critical. In the Buddhist system, holding a view isn't just some passive intellectual game. It's a form of action. It's karma. It's something you do, and it has consequences. The view you decide to cling to actually shapes your actions, and those actions determine your entire future, where you end up in the cycle of rebirth. The stakes couldn't be higher.
So, okay, if all 62 views are just traps in this massive net, how in the world does the Buddha get out? What's his escape plan? Well, this is where we get this brilliant reframing of the whole problem.
I mean, the natural question we all have is, okay, which one's the right one? If those 62 are the net, what's the Buddha's secret, number 63, the view that cuts through all the rest?
And the answer is, he doesn't have one. He doesn't fight fire with fire. He refuses to offer a 63rd view that he claims is the ultimate truth. And this is the masterstroke. He completely changes the question. He's not interested in debating whether the cosmos is eternal or finite. He asks a different, way more practical question. What happens when you cling to that idea? What is the result of grasping it so tightly? The whole focus shifts from the content of the belief to the consequence of believing.
He then traces the origin of every single one of these grand philosophical views back to a very simple, universal process. It all starts with sensory contact, seeing something, hearing something. That contact creates a feeling, pleasant, unpleasant, or neutral.
That feeling then sparks craving, wanting more of the good feeling, wanting to get away from the bad. And it's that craving that finally hardens into clinging, the grasping onto an idea, a view, an identity.
You see, the core diagnosis is just brilliant. The problem isn't the intellectual idea of the world is eternal or the self is destroyed at death. The real problem, the real suffering, is the psychological agitation and vacillation, that constant inner turmoil that comes from the act of clinging to any fixed idea. The pain is in the grab, not the thing being grabbed.
So, what's it like to live free of this net, to see through this whole process, and just stop clinging? The Sutta describes it as cutting a cord.
See, liberation, or unbinding, isn't about adopting a new and better belief. It's about having a deep, direct understanding of that whole process we just walked through. It's knowing, for yourself, how feelings and views pop up from sensory contact, how they fade away, what's so attractive about them, what their downsides are, and ultimately, how to escape their pull. That deep seeing is what cuts the cord.
The text uses this really powerful image. It says the Tathagata, that's a word for someone who is fully awake, stands with the cord binding them to becoming cut through. That cord, that's craving. It's the engine of rebirth. And for someone who is free, that cord is just snipped. They're no longer being yanked around by the forces of craving and clinging.
So, what's the big takeaway for us? I mean, how does this ancient map of the mind have anything to do with our lives, right here, right now?
Well, think about it. We live in a world with way more than 62 views, right? We are drowning in ideologies, political tribes, online echo chambers, endless information feeds, all of it fighting for our belief. So the question this ancient text leaves us with is actually a very modern one. What nets are you caught in? And maybe more importantly, is the way out to find a better, stronger net? Or is it to finally understand the very process of getting tangled up in the first place?